Hello students. So I hope whatever paging concepts we have studied in the previous video are clear. In this video we'll be looking at structure of a page table where we'll be seeing three different types of structures of page table in hierarchical paging, in hashed page tables and in inverted page tables. And then we'll be looking at one important concept known as segmentation. As seen in the previous videos, page table plays a very important role in paging. So there can be different structures of the page tables, and in this video lecture we'll be looking at page tables from three different perspectives. That is how page table is stored in hierarchical paging, then how page table is stored when we are using hashing technique, and in inverted page tables how the page table is stored. So with three different views or three different structures of page table we'll be looking here. The first concept that we'll be looking at is hierarchical paging. Let us understand the difference in the logical address without the hierarchical paging and with the hierarchical paging. So if you'll see the example where I have shown without the hierarchical paging, here I have assumed that the logical address space is of the power 2 raised to 32. That means 32 bits are required to represent one address. That means the page number and the page offset together will require 32 bits for representation. Now in this they say that every page is of 4 KB. Now 4 KB can be represented as 2 raised to 12. That means 12 bits are required to represent the offset. So in this case, if I apply the formula n minus n, 20 bits are required to represent just the page number, and then 12 bits are required to represent the page offset. So how many entries in the page table will be there? Entries in the page table will be 2 raised to 20 again. So why 2 raised to 20? Because this much of space is required in the page table to store all the values. Again, this is one simple example we are taking. So if the page table entries are more, then more space is required. In that case, I told you that we cannot use registers to store the page table. We go for the PTBR, where we are storing the page table in the main memory and we are providing the address of the page table in the page table base register. So this is what we have seen, where the page table is quite long now without the hierarchical technique. So what do they do in the hierarchical technique is, whatever is this page number, we are dividing it into two parts. So here whatever is 20, the same thing is divided into 10 and 10. Now this P1 will become the outer page table and P2 will become the value to the inner page table, and the offset will remain as it is. Only this value, page number value, is being divided into P1 and P2. And how does this work, or what is this two-level hierarchy that we have added, we'll see in the next slide. But just understand that whatever we had the page number here, which was a single entity, now it is divided into two entities. 20 bits are being divided into 10 and 10. Now with regards to what we discussed in the previous slide, here if you'll see, in the previous slide we had two page numbers and here we have two page tables. We do not have a single page table, but we have two page tables. One is the outer page table and the other is the inner page table, and then finally we have the main memory, or these are the physical addresses. So we have a logical address that we are converting to physical address, and that is why we are using the mapping table, that is nothing but the page tables. So here if you'll see that every page in the outer page table has the address of another page table. That means when I reference the index of this page, so I'll be again repointed to another page table. This again is a nature of hierarchical paging. That means instead of storing or dumping everything in a single page table, I'm dividing the page table into smaller page tables. In that, whatever are the inner page tables, their starting address will be stored in the outer page table. So whenever I reference any one of the page from the outer page table, I'll be redirected to a set of pages, or if I'm choosing one, then I'll be redirected to a single page table. Again here I have to look at the displacement, or here again I have to know what is the page number that I'll be referring, and then finally you can map it to the final memory. More detailed working of this we'll see in the next slide. As I've already told you that whatever logical address we spoke, it has been divided into three parts now, not two parts, but three parts. We have page P1, we have page P2, and then we have the displacement. So when I reference page P1, or when I start looking for P1 in the outer page table, I'll be pointed to some value. Now for example, this P1 is pointing to this value. So from this again I'll be having a page table. So this will again point to the starting address of the inner page table. This is the outer page table and this is the inner page table. But in the inner page table I need to know which page from the inner page table I'm referencing. That will be told by P2. So P1 will tell you which page of the outer page table, and P2 will come directly here and it will tell you which page of the inner page table. Once I get this, the frame number is taken, and this offset that we are talking about, D, this value will be taken here, and finally we get the main memory. So let me just revise it once again. I have P1, P2 and D. So when I look for P1 in the outer page table, I'll find a page which will be indexed by P1. Once I reference that page, I will be redirected to another page table. Now this is the inner page table. So P1 will just tell you the starting address of it. It will not tell you the displacement. To tell you the displacement, or to tell you exactly which page in the inner page table, we are using P2. So P2 will tell you the number of the page table, page that we are going to reference. Once I get the page number, I'll be looking for the frame number. So once I get the frame number, this D value will be added to it and I get finally the main memory. So I hope this is understood. This is how hierarchical paging is being done. So now here we have two levels of hierarchy. Similarly, I can add another layer of hierarchy over here by dividing not between P1 and P2, but I can add also P3 here. So this is how we can add another layer or another level of hierarchy. Considering an architecture known as VAS architecture, this is a variation of the two-level hierarchy that we have seen. In this case, if you all see that there are something known as sections that are created. So in VAS architecture, the whole logical address space is divided into 4 sections, and each section has 2 raised to 30 bytes of data, or 2 raised to 30 bytes of address space. So what VAS architecture does is, instead of dividing it between two page numbers, it is divided in such a manner that the first 2 higher order bits will tell you the section. That means whether it is section 1 or section 2, section 3 or section 4, and the next will tell you the page number. So by adding the simple section, it is very clear that which exactly memory are you going to refer, because since we have 4 different sections, same page number and same offset may be existing in every section, but because of the change in the section number, we'll be providing the different level of hierarchies here. So this is a variation of the 2-level architecture. Similarly, we can see here that 3-level architecture has been provided by a 64-bit logical address. So whatever we have discussed till now, we saw it in 32-bit address space, but this is a 64-bit address space. So now here the outer table will have 32 bits of data, then the outer but the inner table will have the 10 bits of data, then the innermost table will have 10 bits, and then finally the offset will have 12. Till this the distribution is same. Only thing that has got added is the second outer page. Apart from an outer page, there is a second outer page that has been added. So this is how you can have hierarchical paging. Again, why this is required? Required because The page table, if it is very big, then it becomes very burdensome for the operating system to maintain it. By distributing it in this manner, it becomes very easy to locate a main memory or to locate a physical address just by making use of simple techniques like this. So the second type of table structure, page table structure we'll be looking at is with the help of a hash function. So whatever is the virtual page number, that is nothing but the page number, roughly talking. On this we run the hash function, and this hash function will give me a hashed value to one of the entries in the hash table. So what does the hashed, every entry in the hash table contain? It contains a linked list. So every linked list has three parts. One, the first part will give you the virtual page number, and the second part will give you the real number, that is nothing but the frame number. So this physical memory, every frame number is been included here, and then the last will give you the address to the next list. So this is a linked list which is attached to this hash value. So now with page number P, if I run the hash value, it is pointing to this entry. In this entry, I start comparing the values. Compare P and Q. Is it matching? No, it is not matching. So move on to the next element in the list. Here P and P are matching. So what is the corresponding frame number? The frame number is R. So frame number is taken. It is added with the offset and you get the physical address. So if you're using hash function, it becomes very easy. You all can have, you all can store multiple values. So there is another concept known as cluster page tables, where we can expect that a single entry can be pointing to the multiple physical addresses. That has been possible, and that technology is known as clustered page tables. It is a variation of hashed page tables. So hashing methodology has been applied, and this is also one of the most convenient methods of storing the page tables. The last page table structure that we'll be discussing is the inverted page tables. Before understanding inverted page tables, just recall that when we were discussing implementation of page tables, I told you that for every process there will be a page table that will be created. Now if I tell you to look for the 5th page with the 15th offset, then in which page table are you going to look? Because I haven't told you of what process I am talking about. So that is why in inverted page tables, the logical address is not divided into just two parts like in the previous case. I have a page number, I have a offset, but with that I also have the process ID. Why I am having a process ID? Because every process is going to have a page table, and to look up to that page table, so this process ID what we are having, it will act as an address identifier. This is one way of protecting one process changing the contents of the other. So now when I have these three combinations in my logical address, let us look at the contents of the page table. In the previous case, the contents of the page table was the frame number, and page number was just an index to these values. But now the page table is having the PID, that is the process ID, and the page number. So what happens here is the PID and P are taken and they are compared with the contents of the entries of the page table. Now for example, if this is 1 and if this is 6, then once 1 is compared here, 1 2 is compared, 1 3 is compared, 1 4, 1 5, 1 6, till I have a match of the PID and P. I have to keep on comparing. Wherever I find the match, whatever is the location, that location will become the frame number. That means for every logical address in any process, I am having a single physical address. So now once I get this reference, the frame number, I add this with the offset and I get the physical address. One thing that you have to notice here is, in the previous case, page number was acting as an index. The content was the frame number. But now here, the page number is acting as the content and the index is acting as the frame number. That is why it is called as inverted. The case is inversed here. And when can I not apply this inverted page table technique? When I'm having the shared pages concept. When multiple logical addresses will be pointing to the same physical address, or when I'm sharing some pages, that time inverted page tables cannot be applied. So you'll have to remember this, when inverted page tables cannot be applied. So if you all want, I'll just revise this once again. So we have logical address which has to be converted to physical addresses. Logical address previously had just page number and offset, but now along with that I have PID, page number and offset. PID and page number is what I'll be matching. Wherever the match is found, whatever is the location, that will become your frame number. To that I'm adding the offset to get the physical address. I hope this is clear to everybody. Having understood paging, now we come to the last part of memory management, or last concept that we'll be discussing, which is nothing but segmentation. So whatever paging we have discussed, there are some similarities in segmentation, but it is not entirely the same. So when we were converting logical address to the physical address in paging, we had something known as pages, and these pages were mapped with the help of a page table, and we used to get the physical address. But whatever we discussed in paging, the major disadvantage of paging is that the page doesn't support the user view. When I as a user look at any program, I do not think in which page what data will be stored. In fact, I am unaware of in which page what data will be stored. So I am not controlling, or I am not aware of how the pages are created or how the pages are stored, because my logical view of the program is different, and whereas the backend storage of it is different. But that major disadvantage is overcome in segmentation. Now when you look at any program, so you all can see that now if I've written a simple program, then simple C program, then I'll have a main program that has been written. Apart from a main program, I may be having some subroutines. I may have a stack, I may have a symbol table, I may also be having square root function. So these two are the functions or subroutines, whereas these two are again your compiler specific data that you require. So whenever I as a user look at any program, then this is my view. This is the logical view of any program. So this logical view is supported by segmentation. In segmentation, I do not divide the program into pages, I divide the program into segments. And each segment will be having a base and a limit. That is, what is the boundary of this segment will be known to me. So that is how segmentation is different. Again, how segmentation is implied, we'll look in the next slide. When we spoke about paging, in paging I had something known as a page table. Similarly, in segmentation, I have something known as a segment table. And this is the logical address, this is the physical address that I'll be getting. How do I get it? So the CPU will create the logical address. The logical address will be divided into two parts now, the segment number and the offset. So this segment number will act as an index and it will look up to the segment table. Now what are the contents of the segment table? Segment table has two contents. It is the limit and the base. Now let us say that segment 3 is what I am referring. So look up for the entry 3 here. Now this 3 will be having limit and the base. Now I have to compare the limit and the offset. Why I am doing this? So that whatever segment that I am accessing, I am not going beyond that, because this offset will tell you whether it is within the segment or outside the segment. Now if you all see here, this offset, it has been compared with the limit. If it is less, only then I am given the access or the permission. So this is one level of protection that has been added. If it is not, then directly I'll end up to an error. Again, this will be an interrupt that will occur, or a trap that will occur, and my system will aware, or the system will provide an information to the user that there is a trap or error in addressing it. Now if you all see here, the base value is there. The base value is the starting address of any segment that we are talking about. That gets added to the offset, and with that I get the physical memory. So there are some changes that have occurred in paging and segmentation. The one important thing that you'll have to remember is all the segments are of different sizes, whereas all the pages are of the same size. Again, each segment has a limit and the base. This concept is not there in the pages because all are of the same size. I do not need to know the limit and the base for it. So there I have a page table, here I have segment table. So again, both are doing the same functionality, converting the logical address to the physical address. But major difference is that the segmentation supports user view, whereas the paging does not support the user view. Now this is an example that they have shown which implies segmentation. If you look here, then every segment is given a number, and for every such segment we have created a segment table. Now these are the segment numbers that have been given. So whenever I am providing a logical address, I have to mention the segment number along with the offset. So limit is what? Limit is the maximum size. Now let us take one example. If I talk about segment 0, which is subroutine, so this subroutine will start at the base address 1400. So here you all can see that the base address is 1400, and how much will be the space of it, or to what length it will expand? It will expand to 1000. It can be anything. It can be 1000 bytes or it can be 1000 kilobytes. The unit is not known, but to what unit? 1000 unit. So 1400 plus 1000, which is 2400. So from 1400 to 2400, I have segment 0. So this limit is the maximum size of the segment. Why this limit is required? Because every segment is of different size. This limit was not there in paging because all the pages were of the same size. So I hope everybody is getting now what we meant. Now let us take one more. Let us look at segment 3. Segment 3 is stack and it starts at the base address 3200. Now when I start at the base address 3200, I look at the limit. The limit is 1100. Add 1100 to this. So if I add 1100, it will become 4300. So from 3200 to 4300. Again, please understand that 3200 is included, 4300 is excluded. So whatever offset we are talking, it will start from 0 to n minus 1. So 3200 will be my first base address and 4299 will be my last address in segment 3. 4300 will be a part of segment 2, which is not a part of segment 3. Likewise, 3200 is a part of segment 3 and not part of any other segment. So I hope everybody is getting it. This is how the segmentation has been implemented. Very important is this segment table, which has to be properly defined so as to know what are the segments and how they are distributed in the physical. I hope all the concepts that we have seen are clear. So this is the end of module 3. So from the next video onwards, we'll be looking at module 4. So I request everyone to once again revise the module 3 completely. If you have any doubts, feel free to ask me. Thank you.